Hello, and welcome back to Sinister Sisters. This week, we... I feel awkward because you're, looking at me.
This is the first ever video episode, so...
Yeah. So,
hey.
Nice to see your faces. Our faces. Hey there. I'm Shrimp. And I'm your True Crime Tuesdays host. So every Tuesday I take us through one gruesome story or another. Can you hear me okay? Okay.
Yep.
I am, of course, joined by my co-host Kat. Say hello.
Hello.
Talk,
hello.
Valentina. Ally.
Ally. That's an old trend, so I think that we shouldn't do that.
Okay. Today we're going to be talking about Stacey Castor, who's also known as the Black Widow, but so is everybody who does a murder. So, before we get into all of that, please remember to follow our Instagram at sinistersisters.podcast as we update there as often as we can and often have digital case files to put faces to names. We also have a case request form both in the Instagram bio and in the description of all the episodes, including this one. If there's something you want to chat with us about, email us at sinistersisterspod@gmail.com.
Yeah!
There's the self-promotion. But please do be aware that this episode will speak of some things that aren't always the vibe. So if you feel you need to skip this one, please do. We have light episodes for you on Fridays, presented by Kat. Do we know the topic of this week's soapbox?
Well, this week's soapbox is actually our first soapbox Sunday, because we...
Oh yeah, I forgot we were doing that.
Love an anagram? No.
An alliteration.
Alliteration. We love an alliteration around here. So this week we are doing another Reddit episode backed by popular demand based on our analytics. So yeah, get some fun stories for y'all.
Y'all. You can't say y'all with a British accent. It just...
No.
It doesn't sound good. Content warnings, of course. Gotta get that out of the way. Murder, child neglect, attempted murder, and mentions of suicide.
Okay.
Have you heard of this case before, Stacey Castor?
I have not. No.
Nice. I love it when that happens.
I feel like that happens every week. I'm not very up on the true crime things.
Okay. Kat's not a murderer. I mean, a murder fan.
I mean...
You'll like the generic murders, like Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy.
I don't know much about them either, actually. I know about Ted Bundy because I watched the Netflix movie with Zac Efron.
It's a good movie.
But Jeffrey Dahmer was a cannibal, and that's all I really know. I think so.
Actual cannibal Jeffrey Dahmer. And there's a new show on Netflix about Jeffrey Dahmer. We just started watching it yesterday. It's very good.
Oh, okay.
It has Evan Peters in it. It's a Ryan Murphy.
Oh, interesting.
So, like, the Glee guy and Scream Queens and American Horror Story.
Yeah. He has a very wide range, I feel like, but they're all pretty campy.
Like, Glee, compared to American Horror Story, is kind of... like, what?
It's interesting.
But you can usually tell that it's a Ryan Murphy because it has either Darren Criss in it, Evan Peters, is that his name? Or Emma Roberts. He's a one of those people. I was going to say typecaster, but that's not right. Anyways.
No. Like Tim Burton always casts
Johnny
Depp and Helena Bonham Carter.
Helena.
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay. Again, this is about Stacey Castor. So, she was born as Stacey Ruth Daniels on July 24th in 1967 in Clay, New York. United States, to Jerry Daniels and Julie Eaton. We've been there, We've been to
We've been there. I want to go back, but anyway, keep telling the story.
Yes, we should try and go back when I'm not poor. So not much is known about her childhood, like really at all, because it was basically unremarkable. But when she was 17, this is when she met her first husband, Michael Wallace, in 1985. In 1988, the couple was married and had welcomed their first child, Ashley. And in 1991, the family was completed with the birth of their second daughter, Brie. So nice.
Those are like classic 80s and 90s names, I feel like.
Ashley and Brie, yeah. Pretty standard. Stacey worked at an ambulance dispatch company while Michael worked nights as a mechanic. Despite both parents working, the family, experienced extreme poverty. According to Stacey, Michael was very close to their youngest daughter, Brie, which Stacey believed to be favoritism. So she tried to make up for this with her elder daughter, Ashley, by becoming best friends with her. Despite having this closeness with their children, Stacey and Michael themselves grew apart, and it was rumored that each of them was having affairs, but this was never proven.
Okay.
So there's like some cliques happening in this family at the beginning already.
Yeah. Like that's it's weird for a family to have a clique system.
Yeah.
When there's 4 of you.
Yeah. Weird. In late 1999, Michael started to feel ill, just like randomly. Family members recall him acting unsteadily, coughing, and seeming swollen. His illness persisted over the holiday season, and his family encouraged him to seek medical care, but he died in early 2000 before he could do so.
Oh, no.
So this was like 2 months before the death. Ashley, who was his oldest daughter, had been with Michael at the time of his death, and at 12 years old, blamed herself, stating that she had noticed his ill appearance that day, but thought nothing of it.
Aww.
Trauma. Oh my gosh, my iPad is sleeping. Stop doing that. Physicians told Stacey that Michael had died of a heart attack, but Michael's sister found this to be suspicious and was skeptical, so she requested an autopsy for him, but Stacey Castor refused it, stating that she believed the doctors were correct. So life moved on for the family and no autopsy was performed. And Stacey cashed in on Michael's life insurance policy, which I'm sure helps to guide this conversation already as to where it's going, but
foreshadowing for sure.
Foreshadowing. In 2003, Stacey remarried with a man to a man. Stacey remarried to someone named David Castor. He owned an air conditioning installation and repair company, and Stacey worked at his office. Stacey worked as his office manager. It was David's last name that Stacey used from this point forward, becoming known as Stacey Castor. Oh, weird snack. In August of 2005, Stacey called the local sheriff's office to tell them that her husband had locked himself in their bedroom for a day following an argument and was not responding to his cell phone, and she had become worried when he hadn't shown up for work because they were working together and he didn't show up, and so she called the police. She claimed that he was depressed to the police.
Okay.
Sergeant Robert Willoughby was unable to get a response from David, and upon kicking in the bedroom door, found David Castor lying dead among a container of antifreeze and a half-full glass of bright green liquid. Upon hearing this, Stacey is alleged to have screamed, "He's not dead, he's not dead."
Okay. Why would you drink the antifreeze out of a cup? Why would you waste a cup? I feel like
I don't know.
That seems like weirdly posed. Anyway.
Foreshadowing. Originally, the coroner reported that David Castor had committed suicide through a self-administered lethal dose of antifreeze. But when police found Stacey's fingerprints on the antifreeze glass and located a turkey baster that had David's DNA on the top, they began to suspect that Stacey had engineered her husband's death by using the turkey baster to force feed him antifreeze. In the glass had none of David's fingerprints on it, just Stacey's.
Okay.
So, the police ordered that Stacey's house be wiretapped and cameras set up overlooking her house and the gravesites of her husbands, who had been buried side by side at Stacey's request. Which is weird. Yeah, me too.
Very weird.
The idea was that if Stacey loved her husbands the way she was professing to, she would visit their graves, and the police wanted to be able to observe her behavior while she was there. This plan fell through, however, because Stacey failed to visit their graves even once.
Okay.
Yes. Police are feeling now, at this point, after they've wiretapped her and seen these videos that she's not going to her husband's grave, that Stacey's first husband's death might be a little sus too. So, with permission from his family, they exhumed his body and performed a toxicology screening, which ruled that Michael Wallace, who's her first husband, had also been killed through antifreeze poisoning. So that's our MO. Yes, so they originally thought he had had a heart attack, but he was having lots of symptoms of, like, poisoning. Like, he had a tummy ache, he didn't look very well. But they never found this out because, again, Stacey didn't want an autopsy time.
Of course.
Yes. So in September of 2007, amid mounting evidence that Stacey had murdered both of her husbands, she began to panic, of course. After learning that Michael's body had been exhumed and antifreeze had been found in his system, she's believed to have devised a plan to set up her daughter Ashley for both murders. So, we talk a lot about murder on this podcast. It is a true crime podcast, but this is the first time we're talking about someone framing someone else, and this is when it starts to get kind of icky because she's framing her own daughter.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
No, it's gross. On Ashley's first day of college, investigators came to her school to question her about her father's death and to inform her that he had been poisoned instead of having died of a heart attack. An upset Ashley called her mum, obviously, who invited her to go and drink at their family home, stating that the family had been through enough emotional stress and needed to relax. Ashley agreed, of course, not thinking anything of it, because not only was Stacey her mother, but she was also her best friend. That's what she referred to her mom as being her best friend.
I forgot about that already.
Yes. 17 hours later, Ashley was found comatose by her younger sister Bree. Bree demanded that help be sought, so she left the room for one moment to make the call to 911. When she returned, she found a suicide note beside Ashley that had not been there before. I know. The note appeared to be Ashley's murder confession, in which she admits to having killed both her father and her stepfather. Remember, she would have been 12 when her dad died. Castor quickly took this note from Bree and gave it straight to the paramedics. She wanted them to see it. So, tests revealed that potentially fatal painkillers had been found in Ashley's system, and that she most likely would have died if she had not been taken to the hospital exactly when she did. Even a few minutes later, she probably would have died.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. When Ashley woke up, the police questioned her about the murders and the suicide note that was found beside her. She said that the last thing she remembered was her mother making her an alcoholic drink, something that she had never done before. So she'd never given Ashley alcohol, but it's her mum, so she would believe her and trust her.
Yeah.
She told the officers that she did not write the note and was confused with their questions and accusations. So thankfully, Ashley has no lasting effects from this.
Good.
She, other than the trauma, obviously, but no physical, anything like that. So everything kind of went back to normal. She, sort of. This, what happened next was that police had been building this case for 2 years by the time this had happened. And in 2007, Stacey Castor was arrested for second-degree murder in David's death and for attempting to murder Ashley and frame her for the murders of David and Michael Wallace. The district attorney and the assistant district attorney argued that David Castor, Stacey's second husband's suicide, never made sense due to the lack of his fingerprints on the glass or the container of ethylene glycol, which is just antifreeze, it's scientific name, as well as the turkey baster found in the garbage can with both antifreeze and David's DNA on it and Stacey's fingerprints on the other end. Given the evidence of David Castor's, or the evolution of David Castor's illness, they concluded that given evidence of the evolution of David Castor's illness, they concluded that Castor had been for 4 days feeding her husband antifreeze through the baster before trying to make it look like a suicide. So she'd been killing him over time, slowly poisoning him. Yeah,
and that's what she did with her first husband too?
Yes, that's what she did with both of them. Is that with I don't have a brain today. With David Castor at the very end, she was force feeding it to him. She didn't. That no evidence was found of that happening with Michael Wallace, but nobody suspected anything icky happening with Michael Wallace, so there was no investigation in that sense.
Okay.
So, having searched Stacey Castor's computer, prosecutors had found several drafts of the suicide note that Ashley was accused of writing. Forensic investigators found that, based on the timestamps, drafts of this had been written while Ashley was in school, proving that she couldn't have been its author. They argued that the suicide attempt had actually been a planned-out murder attempt by Castor against Ashley. One notable part of all of this was that Stacey Castor consistently called it antifree, not antifreeze. And that misspelling also appeared in the suicide note, supposedly written by Ashley. But Ashley had never called it that before. But Stacey Castor had consistently called it antifree. Which is weird, antifreeze, man. But there's a video of... I watched a Forensic Files episode on this. And also I think it was on YouTube. I watched a video of her actually being interrogated. And the whole time she's calling it antifree. It's nah.
That's a bizarre thing to call it too. I feel like that's not a common nickname for it.
No. It's weird. So, this went to trial, obviously. And she was found guilty of murder for the death of David Castor and was sentenced to 25 years. Additionally, she received another 25 years for the attempted murder of Ashley. She also received an additional 1 1/3 to 4 years in prison for forging David Castor's will to exclude his eldest son. So Stacey got all this money. She wasn't tried for Michael Wallace's death. I couldn't find why. I think maybe because it's been like so many years and they didn't have like all the evidence maybe that they would need, and they were trying her for 50 years already,
Yeah.
So Ashley is quoted as saying to the judge after the trial, quote, "I never knew what hate was until now. Even though I do hate her, I still love her at the same time. That bothers me. It is so confusing. How can you hate someone and love them at the same time? I just wish she would say sorry for everything she did, including all the lies. As horrible as it makes me feel, this is goodbye, Mum. As hard as you tried, I survived and I will survive because now I'm surrounded by people that love me. I'm going to do good things in this world, despite making me, in every sense of the word, an orphan." That's so sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't think of that she doesn't have any parents then.
No.
If her mom's in prison.
Yeah, she has no parents. And that's because of her mom. Like, it's one thing to, like, I don't know, your parents have died in non-nefarious ways or whatever, but her mom's the reason that she is an orphan. So she was sentenced to all that time, and she's being held in Bedford Hills Correctional Facility for Women in Bedford Hills, New York, and she was eligible for parole come June 15th, 2055, a month shy of what would be her 88th birthday. However, Stacey Castor was found dead in her cell on the morning of June 11th, 2016. So she was 49 when she died. Originally, the manner of death was listed as undetermined, but it was Originally, the manner of death was listed as undetermined, but it was later released by the district attorney's office that she had died of a heart attack with no evidence of foul play or suicide. So, 49 is pretty young, I would think, to die from a heart attack.
Yeah.
But she's also... And she's gone through a lot of, like, of her own making, but stress. So.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was not expecting... That was like a twist at the end. I was not expecting.
Yeah. A little dead twist. So, in the case file, we actually have a copy of the suicide note that was written. It's like a PDF of it. And yeah, it's really gross. It talks about how, because it's like written as if Ashley has written it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, remember, I love you, and everything I did is because I love you. I'm sorry all of this is happening to you, but now everyone is going to know what really happened, and they know it wasn't you, it was me. None was ever supposed to know about Daddy. I told you when Daddy died. It was all my fault.
So even playing into the extreme guilt that a pre-teenage girl feels being present for her father's death.
Yes.
Holy fuck.
And it's written really badly, like has no punctuation. I was gonna say so my laptop died, but basically where I was going with this is that Stacey Castor tried to, in the suicide note she wrote for Ashley, tried to make out that David Castor was an abusive husband. Not David Castor, sorry, that Michael Wallace was an abusive husband, and that's why she killed him. So even within, obviously this was very premeditated, so even within the, like, excuse of, oh, Ashley did it, there's still another way out for Stacey Castor. She could say, oh, actually, he was abusive.
Right.
And yeah, you know?
It's
That
fucked up.
is all I had to say about that.
That's a really fucked up case.
Yeah. It is certainly not the vibe.
Not the vibe at all.
It's like the opposite of the vibe.
The opposite of the vibe.
Mm.
Interesting, though.
Yes. As I said, there's actually a movie about this one too. Like Natalie Portman's in it or something. Let me look.
Cool.
Oh, no, it's not Natalie Portman. It's just someone else. But it's a Lifetime film. It's called Poison Love, the Stacey Castor story. It's a part of its ripped from the headlines feature film series. And it's just recently come out, actually, so.
Oh, Lifetime.
Oh, Lifetime. But yeah, and there's also an episode of Forensic Files. The thing with Forensic Files is it doesn't tell you, like, I don't think, who the actual victims are or anything. It's been a long time since I've watched it, but
Okay.
yeah. They use, like, different names and stuff, I think. But that one's really interesting because Forensic Files, it goes into how the crimes were sold forensically, you know, so it tells you about, like,
Right.
what happens when you drink antifreeze and things like that, and they talk about, like, writing, like, in the suicide note, how it sounded like Stacey spoke and not how Ashley spoke, but, like, in writing, you know?
Yes. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes, pretty good. Anyways.
Thank you, folks.
That's a wrap.
Listening.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
We appreciate it.
We do.
Actually, I think our number one fan, other than our mummy, is from, let me look. Wow, this is slow. It's from Ashburn, Virginia. So if you are said number one fan from Ashburn, Virginia, hello. Introduce yourself on our Instagram.
Yeah, DM us.
SinisterSisters.podcast. Or you can send us a personal email at sinistersisterspod@gmail.com. And we'll love it.
Send in voice messages, I think, from Spotify, if that's how they're listening.
Yes, you can. So
I think.
Send us a message and
tell us about yourself.
To it. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to us. Bye.
That goes the same for all fans too. If you love us, let us know.
Tell us.
If you even just kind of like us, let us know. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.